I started Composed Living is we do professional organizing in people's homes mostly, but also for like event spaces, offices. It's definitely not what I have always done. I started my career in healthcare a couple of years ago, and I started as a receptionist. I've worked in every aspect of healthcare since then, all the way up to being vice president of a huge hospital chain. I was also a single mom. I became a mom when I was 19, and I was a single mom until I was 35. And so going through college with an infant was super fun. Obviously, that brings its own challenges. And then also I went through grad school when my son got to be a little bit older. So for me, I think being organized is what you see on Pinterest is like really beautiful pantries and like color coordinated closets, and that's like the really nice aesthetic part of it, but it's definitely not how we live every day. And I think being organized for me is a lot more about maintaining my own like mental health and well-being and being able to do all of the things that I want to do without getting overwhelmed or letting things drop. So now I have a husband and 3 kids and a dog and a business, and there's like so many pieces that are always moving around, and being able to keep those all in order, that to me is like the real value of learning to be organized. And I do think learning to be organized is like the right way to look at it, right? It's not like you just are organized and that's it, everything stays perfect for the rest of your life. It really is a practice. And so setting yourself up so that you have a foundation, for me personally, it's made it so that I can actually achieve my goals and also have time to like, relax and do nothing, or like enjoy a walk outside. Like it gives me free time too. And so I would love to just share a couple of like my favorite tips and tricks, and then of course, at any point, if you have a question, just interrupt me or however you feel comfortable, or you can save questions to the end. And if anybody has a question they don't, like you can talk to me or anyone on the team. All the girls are sitting back there, or Allie over here. You can ask us questions throughout the day too. We'd be happy to chat about anything that you wanted to know organizing-wise. So that is just kind of my background. I think one of the things, the biggest piece of organizing for me is managing like how much stuff you allow into your life. So that's typically what we call clutter. And again, if you look at like the Pinterest version, clutter is going to be the physical things. For me, it's also like emotions, relationships, anything that is not serving your life in a positive way. I also look at those things as something that's just taking up energy and space in your life. So when I talk about reducing things for only keeping the things that you love, keep in mind that that's not just like this notebook and these flowers. It's also like, do you have something that like constantly runs through your head and it's not serving you? Like just bring in awareness to those moments and say like, maybe this isn't something I need to hold on to anymore and I can let that go. Same with, like, I don't know how many meetings or events or anything I get invited to, and it's like you always feel like you want to say yes to doing everything. And for me, it's a struggle because I also love being around people. So finding those moments of like, do I really need to be in this space right now? Is it in line with the life that I'm trying to create for myself, or is this something I can also let go of? I made a bunch of notes this morning. So I think that like if I was gonna give you as like one of my favorite takeaways, it's really that, just bringing in awareness to every aspect of your life and asking like, does this support the future that I'm trying to create for myself? So that's on the emotional side, but it's also like, if you walk into the dollar store or Target and you're like, oh my gosh, everything's so cute, I want to buy it all. It's like, do you really though? Or is it just gonna be another thing that's like, why did I waste my money on this? I don't have a place to put it. The sad truth is like my team and I all have jobs because people buy too much stuff and then they want to get rid of it and then they have to pay someone or like haul it. It's just so wasteful. So I invite you to be mindful before you make purchases so that you are truly only keeping and bringing things into your world that have a lot of value to you, whether it's monetary or emotional or whatever. I think for goals, I'm sure everybody here has a goal or something that they would like to accomplish in their lifetime. I have to write things down physically because I'm a visual learner, but I also am on the go all the time. I don't always have a notebook. So I use just the notes app on my phone as like when I'm out everywhere, or I'll even like dictate. I'll be like, hey Siri, text me that I need to do this thing. But I think figuring out how you learn best, whether it's by handwriting out a note and you always keep a notebook with you, or if there's an app on your phone that you want to use, the easiest way for me is to make sure that no matter what it is, I'm writing it down and it's always in the same place. That's the key, is like it can't be like a post-it situation where there's like a note over here and something on the kitchen counter. Like it always needs to be in one place, then you always know where to go to kind of keep track of how you're doing. I look at, I guess, like my whole life as kind of one big goal. So I break things down by like, what am I doing today? What am I doing this week? What am I doing this month? And then what do I hope to accomplish by the end of the year? So if you have a huge goal, like I want to become a medical assistant, then it's like, okay, we break that down into all of the tiny little tasks that it takes to get there. And then you just pick one task for each day or each week until you're finally there. That's where I think having a notebook is really helpful to kind of map out that journey. I have a habit now that I had to force myself to do. I don't love waking up early in the mornings, but with 3 kids, it's like I have to get out of bed before they do, otherwise I never have a moment of peace and quiet. So I set my alarm to get up before the rest of the house wakes up, particularly on Monday mornings, and I sit for a moment and just think like, what is everything that I'm gonna do this week? And I literally I have so many of these notebooks, but I take my notebook out and I just write like all of the days of the week out and then everything that I want to do on each day so that I feel like I have a really well balanced and productive by the end of the week. So, and I always break it out into 4 categories, which I actually learned from my brother, who's like living his best life and I'm always learning from him. But he told me, because I'm so focused always on like being a mom or running a business, and then he asked me one day, like, what do you do for fun? Or like, what do you do for your health? And I was like, oh, well, it doesn't make it on my to-do list, so I just don't do it. So I now have 4 categories, and they are to every day at least do one thing for fun, one thing for work, one thing for my health, and then there's always something that's miscellaneous, like you need to buy groceries or like take the pet to the vet or something silly. So making sure that you also pencil in kind of some things that are just for you, that are not all about like taking care of a household or taking care of like the business of running your life, I think is really important. So it feels kind of silly sometimes to write it down, but it also feels great when you check it off. So I get really super specific, and I'm not exaggerating. I write down like take a shower, take the dog for a walk, like, eat lunch. Like it just feels so good to cross things off at the end of the day. And then I think that energy of knowing that you've been productive makes you more energetic to continue being productive throughout the day. So that's kind of my little system, is the Monday morning kind of week planning and writing everything down, and then knowing that like it's not really the end of the world if you don't get to everything. If I don't finish something on Monday, I just add it on to Tuesday and hope for the best. But at least it's still written down. I still know all of the things that I'm trying to keep track of, and it's been super helpful. So somehow I managed to do all of the things that I do, and I haven't dropped the ball yet. My team will tell you all of my shortcomings, I'm sure. Does anyone have any questions so far, or anything you want me to elaborate on? Yeah, go ahead.
Like, what do you do when you just feel overwhelmed? You know what I mean? Like, when it just feels like everything feels like it's too much. All your things you're trying to balance are kind of.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I struggle with that often. I think I'm pretty like prone to feeling anxious. For me personally, when I get that way, I either write everything down because I know that it's soothing for me to see it just on paper, and then it's like I don't have to keep it in my head anymore. And if that doesn't work, then I clean out my closet. Something, I get rid of something in my house. There's always that. I mean, my kids bring in so much crap you wouldn't even believe. It's like, well, let's have one of their just like cleaning out a kitchen drawer, for me, like restoring order to something, making it look really beautiful, it's a very soothing and relaxing thing. I think for everyone it's probably a little bit different, like maybe it's going for a walk. You can do breathing exercises, I find are super helpful too, just to have like a moment to reset. So I try to count like in for 5 breaths and hold it for 5 breaths and exhale for 5 breaths until I feel like I've come back into my body and I'm not so much living in the headspace. But truly, like just the act of writing down everything that I'm thinking, whether it's like a journaling exercise or a to-do list, is very common. I think also doing it like before bedtime, it just gets all the thoughts out and you don't have to worry about them anymore because you know where they live. I hope that's helpful, but any other, yeah?
So you mentioned like the 4 categories on the list, is work, health, miscellaneous, and then fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't schedule fun. And for me, exercise would fall under health,
Yep.
right? So can you give some examples of what fun is for you? Like, would that be like kind of just chilling and watching Netflix?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be that. I love like gardening or just like being outside. It could be like going for a hike if you like hiking. Some things I think overlap, right? Like for me, being outside and exercising is fun and healthy. So it's a twofer.
Mhm.
I think like I would do like a yoga class, going like to a place to do something would feel fun for me. Having, meeting a girlfriend for a cup of coffee, that's fun. Somewhere else, like taking my kids and I get to like read a book is fun. There's a lot of different options.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Any other question?
Right, so I do literally everything you do, almost exactly the way you do it. You're my twin.
Awesome.
And I love the schedule fun. That's where it started. But so I have, so just to share, transparently, and if you could just not share this with everyone else, so I have like depression and PTSD. So I have my schedule, and whether it's work or a fun thing, if I have episodes of this come in, everything has to shut down and I have to redirect to like meditation or taking a walk. And then sometimes that shifts all of the plans. So what would you recommend for, like, should I purposely try to get back on target that week, or should I just be more merciful and say it's just not gonna happen? Like, I don't know how to adjust to the return once the episode passes, because then I'm behind.
That's an excellent question, and I'm sure my answer will just be like how I would personally respond. I struggled with depression. It was very severe for the first 25 years of my life, so I empathize with you, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. I would personally just give yourself grace in that moment and allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and know that you're doing the work of healing, and that's more important than like running errands and doing something else. Sometimes we don't have the option to let things fall, right? If you have a job and you still have to show up for work, you have to do these things. So if it was me personally, I would prioritize some things that I absolutely cannot let slide. I still have to wake up and feed my kids. I still have, there's certain things that you just hopefully find the energy and the strength to do. But realize that it's 100% okay to allow yourself to heal and to feel feelings. And then you already have everything written down, like you know what needs to be done, and it'll get done in the future. I spent some time working when I was in graduate school. We had a program where we lived at a monastery, like with actual working monks, and watching how they worked was so fascinating to me because I work until work is done, right? And like what a crazy concept, because work is never done. Like there's always something else to do. And they work the opposite way, where it's like they work in chunks of time. So they work in the library from noon to 1, and when the bell rings at 1 o'clock, they just put down whatever they were doing and they walk away. And it was like, what do you mean? We're so close, this is insane. And they're like, why? Like it's going to be here tomorrow and the next day and every day for the rest of our lives. So why would we, this is the time that we devoted to this thing, and now we're going to move on. And that was really helpful for me to realize, you know, all of the things that we have to do, they're always going to be there tomorrow. And the one thing that you really need to prioritize is making sure that you're okay and that you're taken care of.
So you would say just take an approach with mercy.
Yeah. I just say a whole bunch of extra words. Any other questions? Okay, let me see what else I have.
We have a question. Oh yeah. What's the really question is more common. As you were saying that like it's very helpful for you to write stuff down into your mind. I find that sometimes it's because my mind is constantly running at 1,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
There's just so many repetitive thoughts, and it's so hard to filter through the thoughts of what's important and what isn't. So I just want to reiterate on her point of writing things down. I do have a journal in my car. It's called my car thought dump.
Love
And
that.
I literally, any thought that comes up to me, I write it down. And at the end of the day, I take a look at it and I kind of look at what my thoughts were during the day and what's important from there to carry on to the next day, or what are like my immediate to-dos. And also, in my shower, I have a waterproof notepad.
Wow. Next.
It is changed my life because the pen even says no more thoughts down the drain. And so I write down shower thoughts, because shower thoughts are just
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
thing.
I will send it.
That is so fun. I love that idea. Right? People really do have epiphanies in the shower. It's like a meditative space.
So they're not written down, they're just
Yep.
gone.
Yeah, that's
There's water.
Wow. I feel like I just learned that was like my aha moment. Okay, we talked about goals, to-do lists, asking, like checking in, is this thing or thought or feeling or whatever something that's supporting the life that you want? As far as like organizing an actual home space, as much as possible, like knowing that there's a place for everything is the biggest time saver. Whether that's like your kids always putting their backpack in the exact same spot so that you're not looking for it, or where you put your keys personally, where you drop your purse. If you're always doing the exact same thing, then you're gonna save so much time by the end of the day of not having to run around looking for where to find things. This is where it really comes in handy to have a more minimalist approach to like what we allow into our home spaces. Because if it's overrun with like there's things everywhere, it just becomes visually like so distracting that it's pretty tricky to find where you left things. On the emotional side, it's kind of funny, your home really does reflect how you feel on the inside. So like when you asked what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed, I was being very truthful when I said I'll clean out the closet, because the two things always seem to go hand in hand. So if you're feeling like life is too stressful, it's very chaotic, I would take a look at the surroundings that you're in, whether it's your desk at work or your home, your bedroom space, and see if you can't like find a way to make it feel more peaceful, even if it's not by getting rid of things, but by like tucking them away where they're less hidden. That's always a fun trick. Like as much as you can keep things either like in a basket or contained, the less you have to see all the time, it really has an impact on how you feel on the inside. And I'm not for like, I could never live in a house that's just like bare walls and nothing out, but it's a fun thing to play around with, I think, because it doesn't really matter where you start. If you start by organizing your house and like just making it feel a little more calm, then your emotions will follow, and vice versa. If you start because you're feeling overwhelmed, then like your house will tidy up. So either way, it's just a fun thing to notice. And you know, it really are the surroundings that we have, whether they're with people or our physical spaces or things we own, they really do have a significant impact on how we feel. So I would just encourage you to kind of be conscious of that and notice if you're ever feeling a little bit off, if there's something that you can adjust within your surroundings that might help lift your mood or make you feel more at peace. That's it. Those were kind of the only things I wanted to share for today, but I, as you can tell, love to talk. So if you have any questions or you have something you want to ask, you know, not in front of everybody, you can find me, or this is Allie. Maddie is behind you, and there's Rachel, Roxanne, and Paris. We will all be in the retail space helping you shop, which I really hope you guys have to like take bags and bags and bags. Seriously, because I cannot fit all of that back in my car again. Going home with you today. Yes. The last thing I wanted to add, I was just gonna add one more thing. As Elena and I were chatting yesterday, and I was telling her that we're always looking to hire more people. So for everything, like for social media, for reselling on Poshmark, for organizing, for all of the things. So if anyone has any interest or wants to know more about what that entails, then you can just come find me and we can chat. And we'll go from there. But it's so nice to meet all of you all. Thank you for letting me chat for a few minutes.